Hello and welcome again to another edition of Indiepocalypse Radio, coming in hot as ever. Well, hot from the back end. From the front end, it's just a regular show. I'm Andrew, the host of that effervescent show, Indiepocalypse Radio, being the show that's somewhere between a talk show and a hangout, more on the hangout side, perhaps. We are here with a duo of guests from the world of making games, and also they happen to be in this thing, which makes them easy for me to have their emails for this kind of thing. With no delay and preamble, first up, from the in the context of this, from issue 71 of Indiepocalypse Super Raft Boat Classic, is Jason Gertner. Jason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Fantastic. Right up the front, the question I need to ask people who get into this thing, so I know to ask them again. Hey, how'd you find this Indiepocalypse thing?
Um, I'm trying to remember the first time that I've seen Indiepocalypse. It might have been like through like a Discord server or like at a convention. Um, Maybe a convention, maybe like Boston Fig or something
I
was the
yes,
first time.
I have been at the last two, three since they've been doing them post COVID lockdown stuff. I did do one of the online ones, and maybe you might have been one of the three people that visited the booth during that.
I do remember I did do the online one where it was like through Gatherfest.
Yeah.
I did do that one.
I I admire the idea behind those, but it just did not. I mean, it was nice that I could sit at my computer, you know.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool as like its own thing. It's definitely not a replacement, but I think it could be its own thing.
Yeah, yeah, like just like because as a thing you have like it's, and maybe it was different for different people, but it felt very sparsely attended, and like you didn't really need to be there even.
Yeah.
Which was a weird affair. Um, but anyway, that is my way of going. Hey, I got to keep getting people into this. How do they find it? But speaking of the thing that is in it, um, Super Raft Boat Classic. If people are unfamiliar, how would you describe it?
It's a roguelite where you are on a raft in the middle of the ocean and you can traverse through different biomes. There's enemies like fish and sharks and seagulls. And the main thing you do is you have to, shoot enemies to stop them from killing you. But you also have to keep fortifying your raft because sharks and rocks can destroy them and then you could drown and die.
Yeah.
And you just keep going forever because it's a roguelite.
Right, right. So it's kind of like you have a kind of always sort of like modular expanding and detracting sort of play space, because as you can imagine, you don't want to be in the water.
Yeah, unless you're the shark character who can swim in water, then you do want to be in the water.
Right.
But you can't shoot in the water, so you kind of want to go back and forth between raft and water.
Yeah, you don't want to just hang. It's not an end goal, so to speak, to be in the water.
Yeah.
And now I'm wondering, like, was it actually? It could have even been PAX, because I'm looking at your page, of course, as I look at people's pages while I talk to them. I'm like, oh, I know Last Slice, of course. I'm like, we have probably even met before, pre even Indiepocalypse of it all. It is the weird thing of the reframing of, hey, how did I meet people before I had this thing that people could attach to me. Because you've been at the game, so to speak, for a little while, and you have like a couple of projects on the docket, as it were.
Yeah.
So what is your approach to this, to game making? Because you even call out even on the individual game pages, like how many people are on a team. So well, what is the process of like? Is it a usual number of people, or is it like a reliable like a band, so to speak, or is it a rotating crew?
I guess it's like more of like a case by case thing.
Yeah.
There's definitely people like I know and will like maybe go to first for a game. Um, and I usually try to keep my teams pretty small, keep things kind of simple. Um, I for a lot of the games that I work on, I act as like the producer, the programmer, and the designer. Um, and then I get like one person to do the art, and then one person to do the audio, and then I attempt to do the marketing as well. Um, and yeah, but not every game has been exactly like that. Like sometimes I have like maybe two audio people or maybe three artists, um, and yeah,
But I think that kind of like sort of more modular approach is kind of also a more survivable approach. I considering I've seen a lot of people who you see a lot of teams who work on a game for like 5 years. You see the game being worked on, and then the game comes out, and then 90% of the time it is not a giant runaway success, and then the people disappear.
yeah. No, I don't like working on games for that long. I've only worked. There's only like one game I worked on for like 5 or 5 plus years, and that was like in high school. And I ended up canceling it because it just grew too high scope,
Right.
and there were like over 20 bosses, and only one of them had art, so it was like it would just cost so much, and like at that point, I like improved as a developer, so it's like I'd rather just start fresh on something new and finish it quicker. Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
also like your high school game. That it is meant for over ambition, and you go.
yeah.
Uh,
And I just don't like working on the same game for too long. I like to move to the next game.
right, right, and I think a smaller, like a quicker, smaller is like a more practical approach. I think for just I don't know art in general, unless you have a big nest egg to sit on forever and work on your piece of art. Uh, because it all takes time, and most people do not have the luxury of like uh, oh, I'm going to spend 8 years working 80 hours on a game,
Yeah.
which is I feel like that's like the end. Like that is the most recent like headline I saw for Blueprints, but I feel like it is the story behind like every indie breakout thing is like, oh, I didn't have to work for 8 years and I could spend it all making a game and then
Yeah, I would
marketing a
love to
game.
be in that position.
Right, right. With given that time frame and freedom, I'm sure a lot of games look very different.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a more impractical approach, but it also sets people up with like unreal expectations. Like that's what they need to do, and then that's what like burns a lot of people out. Uh, now, do you have like so the upcoming one, the one you even sent me a little bit for, Summon Island, the robot pirate invasion was today. I didn't put the right emphasis on the interrobang, I don't think, but you get the idea. There's interrobang at the end of that. Um, hey, what's that?
Yeah, it's the newest game that I'm working on. Um, and it's a tower defense. And it's like the invasion was today. Like the story, the quick story, because there's not a lot of story because it's a tower defense game. But
Right.
it's like you're a powerful wizard and you went on vacation and you totally forgot that today was the robot pirate invasion. And they're also invading your island because you're on this like island with a bunch of magic in it. So you have to single-handedly fight off this army. But you're also still on vacation, so you don't want to like get up from your chair. So you summon these like elementals and like turrets and structures to defend yourself.
Yeah, and that is like, and now it is interesting the approach of like, uh, something as old as like tower defense is taken, because it's not a lane like the traditional. I'm wondering, is it even traditional at this point? The idea of lane based, or is that like a notion of the, because it's more like wave based, I would say.
Yeah, it's wave based, but I think well I so the truth is I haven't played a ton of tower defense games.
Right.
And the game didn't start out as a tower defense. It was more like a roguelite with like light tower defense elements, but then it just kind of made sense to just turn it into a full tower defense. Um, so I was playing some balloons tower defense to get some reference points, and they do waves.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can keep waves in, um, but I didn't add paths because I felt
Right.
like,
Yeah. That's
um,
what I was meant by like lanes. It's all.
yeah, I felt like lanes. I don't know. I was like the with the way it works, where you're just in the center of the island, and the way you can kind of place your things anywhere. I feel like I've gotten like mixed feedback. Like some people are like, I feel like because everything's coming from everywhere, it's like it's basically just one lane and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and in a newer build, I did try to make some adjustments where like I put like some big trees that the enemies have to go around, so it is kind of like not like there are paths, but there are like obstacles in the enemy's way. So you have to kind of, and you can't summon on the trees, so you have to kind of plan around the trees. Um, and also, to be honest, it's just like easier with no paths. It's just like, oh, they just go towards either the center or the closest summon to attack.
Right, and it's one of those things where also, when you work within like established genres, like I think, you can run into feedback can be tricky because people sometimes with games especially, they I think you can get like an approach like a software. People are expecting like software, so it's like, oh, this is a word process. This was to process words like this, and where they expect a thing to do a certain thing because that's what it's done historically when it doesn't need
Right.
to. Like, so I imagine there's the trickiness of like balancing, what you want to do versus what the people's expectations of some like a genre are.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I don't know. I think this it's not like exactly like every other tower defense, I
Right.
suppose, but maybe that helps in its like uniqueness. Hopefully, like that it is
Yeah.
different. But sometimes it's like you're too different, and it's like now there's a reason why all these games work like this. So I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, it's the trickiness of just like, I don't know, making games, especially when you're airing more towards like gameplay, um, because there's people, sometimes it feels like they just kind of like you run up against people just sort of wanting the same thing, or or uh, or outliers. The things that are outliers, people don't know they want until they're already out. I guess is a weird way of putting it. But, there are plenty of things that don't look like anything else that get out and become successful. And like, how do you be that thing without just becoming the thing? You just kind of gotta put that trust in that. Like, yeah, it'll turn out. It'll work. Uh, which is, a bit harder, I think, from a design standpoint. But there's the design problem of that, of like making the thing that you want to make, or designing for a market. Like it's almost like two different tracks of design in a way,
Yeah.
because often finding yourself designing for a market can be something like extremely different than like, oh, here's the game that I want to make. Like, how much of that goes into like design sensibilities.
Um, I guess it depends. I don't know. I kind of
Yeah.
just make games that I
Right.
want to make, but then it's like, you do have to kind of consider, is this marketable? Will people like this? Like, is this a genre where there's already a lot of games? Like, do people actually, play these games? Like, is it oversaturated? I feel like tower defense isn't like too oversaturated. Without, I haven't done like a ton of research, and I probably should do more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I generally like making roguelites, but
Yeah.
there's definitely like a ton of roguelites. But there's a lot of people that play roguelites too, so
Right. And
it's
there's
tricky.
and it's the question of like how much like this is saturation even like saturation is a wide problem, but like once you get inside the niche, it's every art form has its niche, and people are always going to look for like people who are in that niche are always looking for just like more of it, whatever it is.
Yeah,
And they'll be like, oh yes, I'd love a new post rock album every day, even if that's not always the widest thing. Or there's room for like 3 of those to go super wide. And it's the same thing with I feel like you run into with like game genres, sometimes where a couple small examples go huge and wide, and the rest of them probably do just fine. for every Stardew, there's 30 other Harvest Moon like kind of games that are just doing just fine that none of us know about.
yeah,
And there's the kind of like workman sort of like working game dev kind of thing where, oh yeah, you put in the hours, you're making what you want to make, and it fits into a niche and it just works. You're not selling 1 million copies in a week or whatever, but you're selling sustainable copies every few years.
yeah. No, that'd be nice.
But even that is like a difficulty people are increasingly running into, as game dev is art, and it feels like the tech money is falling away from games.
A little bit. That's what it seems like. People just want, I don't know, tech to do wacky things.
Yeah, like the more I'm like the collapse of games feels more like just games are just becoming an art form less than like tech. And arts usually don't have a lot of money in them, unless you're at the super top.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like games were always kind of like art,
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's just so many other things because with the internet and all that, there's just all these new things to get people's attention.
right. Yeah, like yeah, I mean, it's more like referring to more like what you would get from like tech startup money would go to like, oh yeah, games as a service or whatever like tech adjacent thing that was also a game thing. It is now different tech adjacent things that aren't necessarily game things.
Yeah, and with games of service, it's really like, they want it to be like, this is the game that you play, and you don't play any other games, you just play our game, log in to get your daily rewards,
Yeah,
get the battle pass, grind up the battle pass, play, new battle pass every season, 4 battle passes a year, just only play this game. So it gets tough to, like, want to play multiple games because a lot of people are just kind of stuck on the one game they really like.
right. And like the making of those games is like feels like a bad sea change for the industry, in part because they take like, let's say for instance 1,000 people to make and then 200 people to maintain. So what happens to 800 people once the game's made?
Yeah, I mean that kind of happened with Marvel Rivals, kind of.
Right. Because even if a game is successful, like you don't need as many people to sustain it as you did to make it.
Yeah, and then on the flip side with the League fighting game, where it wasn't as successful as they wanted,
Right.
it was the thing where people are like, if your game does well, you get laid off. If your game does poorly, you get laid off. Like,
Right.
there's no win scenario.
No, it's just how many of you get laid off.
Yeah, it's how important are you to the game, like, to keep it going.
Right, or worst case, as happens every 4 or 5 months or so, it doesn't do well enough, and then the entire game goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst thing when a game just like is no longer playable. Especially like this has never happened to me, but I would feel awful like if I spent a bunch of real money in a game and then all of a sudden the game doesn't exist anymore. It's like why did I spend all this money now?
Right, right. I mean, you're hitting almost on a more dangerous question of why did I spend all this money on this thing. Um, but it is like realizing that it is like, yeah, you're at any point like a thing that you thought, oh yeah, I'm super invested in this, and really like what like on a gameplay angle, I feel like what separates the bigger ones from the smaller, what X hero shooter from Y hero shooter isn't like that. There isn't that much deviation, or it's like, oh no, I like this one, but this one was way worse, I guess, so I understand why it shut down. It's like I bet most of them are all basically around the same general level of quality, or whatever that nebulous level of quality means. But so you just kind of like you got to make sure you pick the right horse of a thing you like, or it just disappears.
Yeah.
Which is a really odd thing. Imagine like buying a board game and people like it doesn't catch on, and all your friends don't like it, and then someone just comes to your house and takes it away because oh well, it didn't do well enough, I guess, so we're not supporting it anymore. We are
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like it's a real particular but I think I was I was talking to someone a little yesterday, just very mildly, about games and the idea of play and art and all these sorts of things. In the conversation that was much too long that could happen on social media, but I feel like there is going to be like a difference, so to speak, in like how, or more like a widening of like what games are, in the same way that like in some degrees it's like, oh yeah, it's very easy to get into like any other sort of art form and ignore a wide swath of it and still be fine. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many game genres and things. There's genres I've never played or don't really care for.
right,
While for other people, it's like, well, that's the only genre I care about. And then there's, mobile gamers, which I would love if mobile gaming was actually like a thing indies could do, but like all the top games are just all the same games that just like, have kind of existed forever now. So it's kind of impossible, I feel like, to get into the. Like, I feel like it's harder to be a mobile game dev than, like, a Steam game dev. And even with Steam, it's, like, hard.
right, because
Like,
I feel like mobile game dev is also like almost inherently like, how predatory do you like, you need to be predatory as a baseline.
yeah, the whole business model is completely different. Like, I would love if people just bought games on mobile. If I could just sell a game for $5 or $2
Right,
on mobile and people would buy it, but people will not buy it. They'd rather spend $20 in their free game than spend $5 on a paid game.
right. It's like almost as if like our relationship to money is weird and made up. um,
Yeah,
and it's all just like a just elaborate construct, and money is not real. um, but I have a couple of questions for you, Jason, as we hit the end of these quick 20-minute segments. Hey, what's up? What's your favorite type of rock?
favorite type of rock?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like I like lapis lazuli. That's a cool rock
All right.
mineral.
Yeah, that's because that's a little. It's got a bit of a like there are some that fall into the almost like more traditional like crystals or gem category. At least how we see it most often. Um, and second question, and this is optionally answered. Do you have a favorite Toho character?
I'm sorry, but I'm not into Toho, unfortunately.
Perfectly allowed.
I think there's one that that was based on Toriel from Undertale. Like that was the reference point for them for Toriel. So I'm gonna go with that character, whoever that is.
Okay, perfect.
If my knowledge is correct, and yeah.
Almost certainly. Like, yeah, it takes about, if you've played Undertale, it takes about 30 seconds of playing Toho to go, oh, Toby Fox likes Toho.
Yeah.
Like, it is one of those influences that feels extremely worn on one sleeve. Well, Jason, thanks for joining me here today. We're going to go on, as soon as my little taskbar guy, oh, there it is. We're going to go on break and be back in about 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Goodbye for now.
Sounds good.
Hello, and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Jordan Mason and the Horse Museum with Avalanches. To get a little bit of copyright talk, transition from the break room to the main show, and also as a bit of synchronicity with my break GIF. If you have the opportunity, I'd say, and you've got a theater nearby that you can do it, make your way down to the theater to see Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. They make a joke about, besides it just being a good movie, I think it's a good hour 40 of your time. They make a joke about it's going to be a copyright licensing nightmare, and to see it in theater, it's just gonna be a licensing nightmare. And it seems like it probably would be. So I wonder if you would get a different version in home video. So I would say, hey, go out and see that. But not right now. Right now, I would say right now, if you would have to leave immediately, and that would be the only time, and that would be the last showing, and then it would be impossible. But if you are not within that very narrow window of people, hey, stay right here for now. Or we listen to this after the fact. Hey, I don't know when you're listening to this. You listen to this 30 years from now. Presumably the internet and MP3s will survive that long. So, hey, what's up? We are here with our next guest, who you may know from issue 72 of Indiepocalypse Season 31. It's Cal. Hey, Cal, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm exhausted, but I'm happy to be there.
Great. I am... not exhausted. I'm kind of like midway, hanging out, relaxing, and I have you may have heard the question. I've got a question for you that I need to know. Hey, how'd you find Indiepocalypse?
I had time to think about the question during the first part, and I think that I found out about Indiepocalypse on a Discord server of a French, because I'm French. A French game making group that's called Pump Club, and I think maybe yeah, I'm almost sure some people were on the Indiepocalypse before.
Yes, I think I've commissioned someone who has been part of that.
Yeah, great, and that's a really nice, let's say, amateur game making club, I think, and it's also not really a physical space, but connecting people from different places.
Yes. They're increasingly more and more like loose collectives within games.
Yeah.
Often centered around physical spaces, even if they aren't in physical spaces, which is also cool.
Yeah. And also, it's really about it's not only non-profit, but it's mostly people making games for fun on their spare time. So that's great too.
Yeah, most of these collectives also do tend to skew towards more like non-profit, mostly not. I think just because the kind of games they make don't make money anyway, so it's sort of like a non-profit by necessity, I suppose.
Yeah, but I also think, like, for this group in particular, that it's also about embracing this non-profit stuff. Like, sure, if it was easier to make money with game, maybe some of those people will try to make a living out of it. Maybe myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
But I think a lot of people on this group, and that's what really, I like that.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people are embracing making really weird and queer, because it's also a queer group. And there's an energy of embracing this aspect of really artistic games in the way that they are short, broken, weird, not games often.
Yeah, I think that's
great.
that's a particular weirdness of games that I alluded to briefly in the online, as I alluded to briefly in the online conversation. I am very mild. I say conversation was a mild back and forth of like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something I've been thinking a lot about games as an art form, as you know, especially it struck me, I was thinking more about it recently, but it struck me especially after I get that message after watching was essentially a weird two-hander, almost like DIY comedy film in the theater. Like the range of like what games are is like so much smaller than what we think of what other mediums can be.
That's funny because I tend to think otherwise, but like I get what you mean.
Right.
But
And whenever
for me, like the
yeah,
yeah.
sorry. I was gonna say, whenever I say something like this, I always mean, when I say we, I mean like the broad games culture.
Yeah, but for me, like games tends to like the label game tends to encompass a lot of different mediums that are very very far apart. Like I don't know, text-based games and like or what they call like when you have to type the text inside it, like with prompter games.
Yes.
Like old school narratives are like miles away from, I don't know, first-person shooters. Or...
Yeah. No, we were talking about it last week, even about like how interactive fiction has been doing like the same thing for like 40 years, and it's kind of like its own like offshoot. Like there are definitely like there are subcultures that exist, and I think a lot about the concept of like how, like, if you imagine just a regular John gamer, who's just like, I play video games where you get a lot of points, I play Fortnite or whatever, and like they're like, oh, I want to try getting into art games or whatever. Like there's not like the same like indie space I think you get in a lot of other mediums where you're like, oh yeah, this is where you start if you want to get into art indie stuff. You have to really find the person who will tell you about those kind of things.
Yeah, and I think the fact that the label game has a lot of implication, especially video games, and expectations, people tend to make the games less weird or less different from what is expected to be a game, so that people can still feel like playing a game. Like one example that I had was browsing the subreddit for interactive fiction.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people complaining about some interactive fictions not having enough interaction, not enough choices, and saying that they were not really games. And I don't know. I think sometimes interactive fictions put choices just for the sake of being a game, and that's something interesting.
Yeah. I think we overestimate kind of like the player needs to be doing something. You like the player needs to be an agent in the world as an essential part of games, which I think is less essential. I think. Than
there's like a broad category of digital art and digital fictions that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, like
in the public vision, I think.
Right. Like a lot of games fall in this awkward space between like traditional like games that are obstacle oriented and objective based, and more abstract, or like gallery style interactive art, whatever high-minded person sold a video game to an art gallery and called it interactive media or whatever. Like the language and the notion around those things, I feel like we just could have lacked a language for those kind of things.
Yeah, I think too. But the beauty of it is that people, by trying to find games, might stumble into something that they don't expect. Or even that they don't expect to like, and that's interesting.
That is part of why I usually try to have at least like one or two like more like traditional style games within an issue of Indiepocalypse, almost as a way to like Trojan horse art games into people, you know?
Yeah, but I think it also goes in the other way. Like maybe if heavily narrative digital medias was something on its own, I would play way less games actually. I think.
Right.
So that's great that things are merging too. I think vocabulary is needed, but there's also some beauty in the merging.
Yeah, and also like these categories are things that we made up, like
Yeah.
all this, it's the dangerous thing of thinking too much is you wind up in the ultimate end point of, oh wait, all this stuff is stuff humans just kind of made up, like it's not real.
Yeah. But it's heavily impacting the things we make, I think.
Yes. Speaking of which, things you made. Hey, if people aren't familiar with Season 31, how would you describe Season 31?
I always had a hard time describing it because it's hard to talk about it without spoiling it.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm gonna go for it because it's the sake of the discussion.
Yeah, and also I'm a very particular person where I'm like, spoilers don't do much for like you the
yeah, I get it.
like the experience.
You were speaking about Trojan horses, and
Yeah.
I think this game was kind of felt like a Trojan horses.
Yeah.
In some dimension, because it's a game that starts as a car racing manager. I think car races manager. Like you're really like looking at numbers and hiring employees and like I don't know, doing security stuff and stuff like that on a racetrack. It's called Season 31 because it's set in 2131, but it's not really clear if it's in our world or in another place. I was talking with a friend about that recently, and that I kind of refused to choose if it was a fictive place or a real
Right.
place. So I just never mentioned anything concrete, and that's interesting. And so you start managing this stuff, and like the numbers goes up and everything, and like everything goes well. It's like you get new viewers because it's shown on TV.
Yes.
And then at some point, after like a week, you don't have any radio contact, internet contact. Everything is off with the main city because you're in the countryside. And so suddenly all your options of like hiring new people from the city and sending the rush to the TV production and everything, like it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of stranded there with nothing really working, and you can still do the races. Like
yeah, and
people still work for some time, but you now have new options. Like one of the first options to appear is that you can stop the races.
Yeah,
But you can also not do it.
Yeah, and it keeps like reframing, like the management sim.
Yeah, that's the stuff.
Like it's this the same mechanics run throughout, but they always get reframed and recontextualized, and like.
There was a lot of baiting about making you believe that you as the player believe that, okay, this time I have a gameplay loop.
Right.
And at first it was like organizing this stuff, and then you will have to seek food for the people and like heal the sick people and everything. But the gameplay loop keeps dissolving into something weirder, I guess.
Yeah,
and
like
the end point of that is like it make the connection with what we were talking about before. But the end of the game is three people, three women talking to each other, and you don't have any interaction with that except clicking to make the dialogue.
Yeah, like it keeps. It's a game that almost keeps refusing to allow you to play it.
Yeah. And it's a game that cheats a lot.
Yes. And
I guess that's interesting to talk about, but and I think it's also linked to the material condition in which I made the game, but it keeps cheating to make the story go forwards and to take it where I want it to be taken.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
not a game that's made to be replayed at all.
Yeah, and like
I mean, you can do it if you want to.
yes.
Yeah.
I think I think it is a game that can be replayed. I think actually even like shorter games are even better being replayed. I think
Yeah, but I think it can be replayed in a way you can read the book again.
yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
It's
Yeah,
great, but it's not a new experience.
right. We think about replayable games in a weird context of it. Like it has to be something weird. It's a new experience every time instead of like, oh, here's an experience that I enjoy that I'm just going to experience again.
Yeah, and if some stuff is different, then great.
Right, but sometimes you're like, oh, I'm gonna, how many people like have seen a single movie like 7 times? I just really like this movie. I'm just gonna watch
No,
this
that's a
movie
great
again.
way to think about it. That's a great way to think about it.
I have games like that where I've like, oh, I've played through them like 4 or 5 times just because I enjoy them. Like every few years, like, oh, I'm gonna just play this game again because I just like this game.
Yeah, I was talking to someone that played Little Nightmare like 7 times or something.
What game?
Little Nightmares.
Okay. Yeah, because it is
Great. That's your game. Cool.
right. Like it's like, oh no, it's still good. Like in the same way that you'd watch a movie or read a book multiple times, you're just like, I'm just gonna revisit this game again.
And it's funny because Little Nightmares is a horror game, and so you're expecting the impact to be something lighter when you play it a second or third time. But
Right.
this person enjoyed it.
Yeah, I guess
Every time.
it's like a greater question of like horror games. Like, do we need does a horror game need to be? Do we need to get scared by it in order? Like, I'm not scared by most horror movies or really any horror movies outside of that. Like, the weird part of your brain that like adapts to danger, I guess, and like, I realized this. I had watched The Descent,
Mm-hmm.
and even though I know there's not going to be any like weird blind cave guys down in my basement, like my brain is just attuned to that because my brain is like the human brain is kind of dumb, and like it is weird when you realize like sometimes like what the fear response you get from art is. It's just your brain adapting to something.
Oh yeah, I was unable to watch horror movies for a long time because, like, for 1 week after that, my brain was scared of every little dark space. And
Right. Even though
it's not like about watching the movie. It's the primal fear that I got after that.
Yeah, even if like from a very sensible standpoint, no, there aren't any weird monsters
Yeah.
in those shadows.
Yeah, but I think even if I'm not a big public for like horror stuff, I think
Yeah.
I want to make them. I think I like writing and kind of creating anxiety and fear. So I think I want to make
Yeah.
scary stuff.
Right. There's a pleasure in making horror because there's like a catharsis to it,
Yeah.
of like approaching humans. One of our many oddities is our obsession with danger and like just kind of like reconciling with that. But and it is like interesting to be like I've like even in your comments I feel like the comment on your game I see a little bit of a sea change of someone like played through your game like together and they like play read out loud for their friends.
Yeah, that was amazing to read. Like, wow.
Yeah,
I like that, and that's really because we usually think about a lone player, like I don't know, the kind of perfect player playing the game on their own,
yeah,
in the perfect way. But actually, people play games in a lot of weird way, especially on itch and small games. And I don't know, I remember playing games from jams in which I was with friends after the jam, and I don't know, you have like 50 games to play, so you don't play perfectly, but it's great to it's kind of freeing also to think about all the different ways people are playing games.
and I think shorter games can allow for more of that, where it's probably it's in the same way that you would have like friends would come over for a movie night. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
be like,
One
oh,
example I have is that I often try to explain to people what BZ are. What's BZ are?
right, yes.
What BZ is? Okay, sorry.
No, yeah.
And and I point them to some BZ on itch.io, and they're like, okay, I will play it later, and I'm like, no, you can play it now. It's like 30 seconds long, so we can we can watch it together now,
Yeah.
and that's great.
And it's also like a thing you can just sort of do immediately, you don't have to like, oh yeah, let's play this game together. It's 80 hours long. It's
Yeah.
I don't know, let me show you this quick thing that's 3 minutes long.
And that's something I really like about party games too, even if it's really one genre of games that is, I don't know, kind of limited in I don't know, it's one type of game, but I think trying to make party games that are also something else is really interesting. Like what's a narrative party game? I don't know.
Right. and I think a lot about the idea of just like the concept of eating one's veggies, where it's like, yeah, I like party games and big dumb games sometimes, but also sometimes you got to eat your veggies and experience some art,
I don't know. I love party games, and I think there's something really beautiful and kind of artistic in the way they bring people together. But I'm also a huge fan of TTRPGs, and for sometimes I've been digging up GM-less TTRPGs.
Yeah, because
that you can just bring 3 sheets of printed paper to the table and then create something together. And I think that's something that video games really have to that's kind of unexplored in video games mostly, the act of collaborative creation,
right,
as an art.
Yeah, because it's there's always the sort of like unseen GM of the programmer who made the game.
But I think the unseen GM is also in the TTRPGs.
Yeah, right, because someone still designed it.
Someone wrote the system, wrote the rules and everything.
Right.
But yeah, it's harder to let go with the way we think about video games.
Right, to leave the rules more open, to make it more aimless or inherently aimless and objectiveless.
Yeah.
Kind of like trusting players to bring their own objectives to it.
Yeah, and there's something really beautiful about stories that are for their own sake. Like nobody's expect a TTRPG party to report their game to the game creator or something like that.
Right.
It's a story that's made by the people for themselves, and that's really interesting.
Yeah. Now it is like, I like seeing crossover between the digital game and the physical game spaces, because they are, in sense that like I think more art forms just in general ought to cross over. You learn a lot by.
I think there was something really interesting in the early 2000s about, especially in strategy game, because I don't know, I'm really and I was really into strategy game, and I didn't do that, but in the early 2000s people were like exchanging game saves by email and playing one after the other.
Yes.
Games that lasted like, I don't know, several months, even
right.
years. And that's really interesting, I think.
Yeah. The taking the idea of play by mail. Speaking of not having a transition to this next question. Hey, what's your favorite type of rock?
I think that's Slate.
Perfect. And do you have a favorite Toho character?
I don't know anything about Toho.
Oh, well, there's plenty of there's eternity to learn about Toho. There is certainly Toho strategy games. There's Toho games that exist within every genre, of course, giving its.
I just have so many games to play.
Its thriving fan game community and open fan game philosophy. Cal, thanks for joining me here today. We are going to go on our next break. and be back in, like 3:25, give or take. Goodbye for now. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was a classic of Mitski's Townie. We're back with the whole crew. Hello, welcome back, whole crew.
Hey.
What up?
So we are, folks, we are gonna. I have done a couple of long shows in a week, and I am going to. Can this one clock in at a clean hour? Maybe that is what I'm aiming for. Perhaps I'll also have something to do after this, so I'm on a tighter timeline. But so that said, get right into the beginning of my wrap up, which often does still take quite a while to get into that actual wrap up, but. I'm not aging. I have things to do. There's a difference. I would be aging if I am going. I mean, we're all ultimately aging. That's just the misfortune of humanity. Like, we haven't quite figured that one out yet. That and like hair, I guess. Like a bunch of dudes spending a lot of resources to make sure they don't lose hair, and they haven't quite figured that one out yet. One of these days, maybe.
Estrogen. It's estrogen.
Yeah. I mean, yes, actually, that is that I found that works in the opposite works. Like when people get on testosterone, they start losing it. It's almost it's the tricky thing of like, oh, wait a minute, estrogen gives you hair. Testosterone, I mean, that's what it is. It's all just like.
I mean, they get facial hair in exchange. So.
Yeah. So it's like, how do we move it upwards?
Yeah, lose some, win some.
I've got enough. Also, like, it's one of those things like, who cares? Also, I've got too much on both sides. There was, I don't know. I refuse to learn what bone smash maxing is, but someone showed me a video the other day of like, he's like, this person is like look minning or something, or look minimizing, and really the answer should have been look min maxing. But I had a cursed thought when I was watching that video of like some dude doing this weird workout or whatever, and was like, that's a human being, like, that is just like living their life to become like this 30-second reel for other people to see. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing with our lives? Like, I don't know what's going on anymore. But that is to say, does anyone have any essential statements, essential questions, essential other things to get out before we get into the promotional portion of this show? If not, we will enter into the promotional portion of this show. Perfect. I'm taking that extended 20 seconds of silence to be like, hey, we're getting to the part where, hey, we're talking about what are people doing, how can people find you, where can people go? So Cal, if people are looking to find your work, where can they find that aforementioned work?
Yes, so okay, it's kind of confusing because I call myself Main Sequence Star, and then I call myself Cal.
Yes,
it's me trying to kind of be serious about it, but I don't really know what I'm doing.
That is like, I also have a brand, which it's got good SEO for a brand, so I'll take it.
Also, I think it's great because even if I make most of the work, like for example, a friend of mine worked on the music for the game. That is amazing, by the way. It's the only thing I didn't do, so I can say it's amazing.
Yes, that is a thing I have thought about more and more every single year. Of like, man, I'd be way better at promoting Indiepocalypse if there was a second person who helped me make it, because then
Yeah.
it would just feel like I'm just patting myself on the back by saying it's good.
Yeah, my base promotion post or whatever were those where I was talking about the music because I didn't make it.
But I've gotten
So I think being kind of a studio or whatever helps me also
yes,
including other people and maybe in the future including them more in the project.
yes, yeah.
So
Also, like
to answer the question, yeah. Go
No,
for it, sorry.
no. I was just responding. Yeah. Also, it's super easy to get fully burned out on social media because like it just like takes forever, and it often feels fruitless.
Oh yeah, sure. I make like one like on Blue Sky. It's depressing, but
Yes,
I just try.
I think I've broken triple digits 2 times maybe,
Yeah.
and I have in theory I make a thing that a lot of people know about.
Yeah, sure. Sure. So anyway, you can find me as main sequence star on Blue
Yeah.
Sky, and also on TikTok if for whatever reason you're there. I'm trying to post videos there, just not doing a lot of editing. I'm just
Yes.
pushing the videos, and it's fun. I don't know. And I'm also on itch.io, obviously.
Yes.
And
and
yeah, that's it. And my game season 31 is on itch.io and Steam too. I published it on Steam.
yeah, you spent that $50 or so to publish that
Yeah,
game.
that was. I mean, to be honest, this game was made as a diploma project mostly,
Yeah.
and my school was like paying for half of the expenses, so I jumped on the occasion and I paid the Steam fees.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
And that was really, I don't know, it's obviously not a commercial success, but it was really interesting to make the process of putting a game on Steam, especially since I'm thinking about making games as a living, and so to better understand all those like, I don't know, game categories and genres and what expected and like trailers and this type of banner and everything. I don't know. I learned a lot of things doing.
Well, I will say that you're both starting at a better and a worse time to get into that.
Yeah.
Worse because it's so big and there's no like easy way to just like, oh hey, there's 7 games on Steam. I'm going to be the 8th game or whatever. But that also
Yeah, sure.
But at the same time, I think also the scope or like the sorts of games one can make and have people pay them for that is expanding.
Yeah, and I was talking with a friend that just happens to be in the latest issue of Indiepocalypse. So yeah.
Yes,
I'm
assuming I know. I think I know who that is just based on likes and shares.
Yeah, and they were talking about the way that recently game quality is kind of crumbling everywhere, and so that's really an opportunity for indies and people making broken games because all games are kind of broken lately.
Yes, yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, the cool thing about the thing about games and I think like indie games, so to speak, like independent games have basically been at the same baseline quality they've been since games have existed. They like indie and like hobbyist stuff doesn't increase or decrease in quality because there's no like there's no like bottleneck for making a hobbyist game. You just make a hobbyist game, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But within like the commercial space, I think this commercial space is in a creative lull, to put it politely. What is mainstream commercial stuff is kind of like, and that's I think that's just hitting all industries at the same time. You know, it's hitting film and TV,
sure.
and TV.
And I think it's also linked to AI.
Yes.
That is kind of shifting the way we think about perfect art, I think, and especially in video games, like that tends to, like triple A's tends to look for realism and perfection and immersion for so long, and now this idea is kind of crumbling, I think.
Right, because it doesn't mean anything ultimately, and
Yeah.
so like
So let's hope for more crumbling and more.
Yes, I often look at the video game culture and think we just need a fresh start. We just need to throw it all away, start fresh. You know.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot faster than like the slow burn of like, I say as a weird art person who wants more weird art. You know, but.
Yeah.
Jason, what's up? Where can people find your games if you want them to find those games?
You could either go to shatteredjournalgames.com. You could also go to my website, jasongertner.com. And at the bottom of both websites are icons with links to all my social medias. You know, I got Twitter, Blue Sky, Insta, Itch, Newgrounds, everything. I'm Jasoon Margoon on most things.
You've got even like what was it? There's one thing I didn't see. It was like GX or something.
Yes. For some of my games, they're on GX Games, which is like a platform mostly for Game Maker games, but I believe they've expanded it in like recent years.
Yeah. So like that's the other thing. Like there's a million platforms to like find your way to like peek into, and 700,000 plays is nothing to sneeze at. If these things are to be believed.
Yeah, and we got like a ton of plays. It's probably been played the most on GX Games, I guess.
Yeah.
Because Steam doesn't show you how many times people have played your games,
right?
So I can't say for sure on Steam.
Which is a harder thing for like, especially for like freeware games. Like. You can I guess if people review it maybe, but it's hard to like the internet is very bad for telling how people like engage with your work.
Yeah, and GX Game shows the plays, but they don't show the users. So even if it's 700,000 plays, that could just be like 100,000 people playing it 7 times each or something like that.
Yeah, it's all like it's all extremely like nebulous. You're just like. Is streaming together all these various metrics and either beating yourself up about them or using them as a metric of success and going, is that good? Is it bad? I don't know. But yeah, no, you've got a long history as well. I think I probably first saw Last Slice at something in the area. Maybe Fig, maybe PAX East, maybe any number of 10,000 indie events.
Yeah,
that have been going on. But it's all, and that's also one of the fun of like doing this project and sort of like re-meeting people, so to speak. But. See, I hope Cora, that even the market is meant to doom and become over the hedge and stuff. Yeah, that's the thing is like art is oversaturated. It is. It will never. You can't unsaturate art. Art was oversaturated when the internet was like once people could self-publish. Art has been oversaturated. It will never not be like, but it doesn't mean anything. Like. It's because someone can make 10,000. Someone could say, "Oh, whatever, Vampire Survivor likes are oversaturated," and I, as me, Andrew the person, would be like, "Well, I don't like that. I don't like that kind of game, so it doesn't matter." Like they're like, and then there's someone else who's like, "Man, I love those games. I want 10,000 of them." Like, saturation ultimately like kind of means nothing, because it doesn't factor in the individual. And the weirdness is that we're all individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it praises, like, there's something about the visibility, though.
Yeah.
But
No, if you're listen, game
it kind of like select stuff that is more marketable or easier to get people hyped about. But apart from that, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, like all that time was our flooding the market hundreds of years ago. Like, yeah, fucking, I can't get into writing plays because this fucking Shakespeare guy won't get out of here. He just keeps on making. People keep on referencing that guy. Like, get out of here. And I think about that sometimes. Like, man,
Yeah.
how's it like? We have very few pieces of like genuinely like, and of course there is like the human element of like active people working to preserve those things, but like there is like very, 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 very few like timeless art. Like the further you get from release, the less like widely acknowledged something is. You know. Anyhow. Indiepocalypse.com is where, of course, where you find Indiepocalypse. Indiepocalypse.com/submit is where you submit games to Indiepocalypse. Indiepocalypse.com/Patreon/newsletter/tape is where you get physical versions and all that stuff. You know, you just hit a bunch of slashes on stuff, and then you'll find that if you think there's an Indiepocalypse thing, if you do /that thing, I should make a page that is a link to everything that isn't like it's a real generic ass page on my website that is just a link to everything. That is indiepocalypse.com/that thing, because I keep referring to indiepocalypse.com/that thing. And I should just finally just like make that a web page and include the Patreon and the submission page and all that stuff on that thing page. Really just go full circle. What's wrong with my radio link on my website? Is it broken? That takes me like 5 seconds to fix. I got to see what's wrong with it. It's probably some weird dead link. I have to, yeah. Oh no, it works. Oh, I'm thinking of the. Am I thinking of the archive? Are we talking about the live one or the archive one? Because the live one works. I just went to indiepocalypse.com/radio and it goes to like, oh, you know what? Let me go to it in incognito mode. Oh no, it works. I think. I don't know what's. It appears to work for me, unless we're talking about different links. I am looking at the one that's the little button on the homepage that says indiepocalypse.com/radio. Yeah, I wonder what that is. Yes, that does not work. That is weird. I will figure out. You know what I can do? I will just like. I don't know what I'll do. Like, where do I put that thing? Because that's a read. Oh, /radio. Okay. Getting into the minutia of these guys. Where the hell is that link? Now I gotta find out where that link is on my website. I don't know where I put that link. Anyway, anyway, I keep saying anyway, but I actually just want to keep solving this problem. I want to solve this problem right now. What's can you link me the page you go to get to, like, can you link me the page that link is on? Because I do not know what link I have that page on. And that way I can fix it. Because I know what the fix is for that. I just need to know where the link is to that. Oh, it's on my newsletter. Okay. That's probably what it is. It's probably a broken link within the newsletter, maybe. Okay. It's probably me getting sloppy. Because that URL, that redirect is weird because it needs like the HTTP in it all. So I need to probably just go adjust the newsletter and fix it that way. Yeah, because oh, there's a typo in that. That's what it is. That's a typo. I typoed my ass. It's there's indiepocalypse.com/radio. There's the problem. See, the mistake of like, even I see this word so many times that I sometimes will miss a misspelling in it because it's just a long made up bit of nonsense or a stolen bit of nonsense. Let me close all these links because if I copy that current address and I remove the A of it all, I think that just works. Still. Yeah, okay. If I remove the A, that works still. I gotta find in which world that lives. You know, we can also deal with this at some other point in time. Just do not need to do work. I will dig around to where I have that link buried somewhere, and we can wrap up the show rather than doing troubleshooting.
I gotta say, like, seeing the slideshow of cover art on the stream, I really love the cover art that you got for the Indiepocalypse. That's also, like, as an illustrator, that's great to see.
Yes. Oh,
I don't know, the initiative of commissioning someone different each time and doing such beautiful covers. It's great. It's great.
I found it. Maybe. I don't know. It is weird. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, listen, we're gonna go wild here for a second. Yeah, like I very specifically try to like, you know, find cover artists and even like cover artists specifically who don't do like games work, so that I can like expand in like cross-cultural stuff, you know. Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna I almost screwed myself up there. I was gonna open a new scene, which always messes up because then I have to add the audio sources and everything. But while we're killing time, video games. Hey, you guys play video games? What's some video games you're playing? That old standby. Anything striking your fancy? Whether it's new, old, current, old, fresh, new, current, old.
Latest. My latest one, I re-downloaded Titanfall 2 again, and I'm not at all a huge first-person shooter player, but I don't know. Once in a year, I come back to Titanfall, and I just get bad at the game and enjoy it. But apart from that, I don't know. I keep thinking about Citizen Sleeper all the time since I played it like more than 1 year ago.
Yeah,
and that's been like I think that's the biggest influence on what I'm creating.
Yeah, very like menu driven. So now we are live troubleshooting. Is it this button we're talking about? Like when you click this button, because I click this button, and then it goes to this page. Is that happening for you, or is it not happening for you? You guys can, if you'd like, do not need to continue to stick around while I troubleshoot. Or are we talking a different button? Okay. Who knows? It could have been like a broken link at some point in time. Troubleshooting solved. Thank you. Thank you for sticking around.
The worst troubleshooting is when it's somehow working again, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Why.
Okay. Perfect. I'm deleting this window capture. Kyle, Jason, thanks for joining me today and talking, and thanks for sitting while I troubleshoot something.
No
but thank you for having us.
Yeah. And hey, thank you all for listening, and thank you for saying, hey, sometimes I have trouble listening because your links don't work, and I need you to fix those links, because, you know, that's the nature of the show. And also, I need to also not go too far over time. All right, everyone. Goodbye.
See ya.
See ya.